If you're listening to this late at night, I want you to close your eyes. Imagine a small wooden room tucked deep inside a mountain forest. Outside, a gentle summer rain is patting against the leaves. Inside, there is only the sound of your own breathing and the faint crackle of a single wax candle. Centuries ago, a young scholar named Lin lived in a room just like this. Lin did not care for the loud, busy streets of the city. He preferred the quiet. He spent his days reading the ancient poems and his nights listening to the forest breathe. But sometimes, when the midnight fog rolled in, the silence felt heavy. The room felt too large for just one person. One rainy evening, as Lynn sat by his desk, he heard a sound. It was not the rain, it was a faint, delicate tapping on his window paper screen. Tap, tap, tap. Slowly, Lynn slid the wooden window open. Standing on the damp stone ledge outside was a girl. She was smaller than anyone he had ever seen, wearing a soft silk gown the color of fresh moss. She looked so delicate, as if a strong gust of wind might blow her away like a leaf. Her hair was damp from the rain, and she was shivering. Lynn did not ask who she was or where she came from. In the quiet mountains, you do not ask, question a miracle. You simply stopped back and opened his door. Come inside, he whispered. The dark is cold tonight. The girl stepped into the room. She was so light that her feet made absolutely no sound on the wooden floorboards. She sat down on the stray mat across the desk, tucking her green dress around her knees. My name is King, she said. Her voice was a revelation. It did not sound like a human voice. It sounded like the soft rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze or the faint vibration of the silver string. Every night after that, the ritual was the same. At midnight, the soft tap, tap, tap would come at the window. Lynn would open it, and King would slide into the room. She never ate, and she never drank the tea offered her. Instead, she would sit by the candle and sing. She sang old wordless melodies that seemed to echo the ancient history of the tea trees outside. As she sang, Lynn's mind would grow completely still. All his worries, his loneliness, and his racing thoughts would melt away into the dark. One night, Lynn noticed a beautiful long green silk ribbon tied around her waist. He reached out his hand, wanting to touch the fabric. May I? He asked softly. King flinched back slightly, her eyes wide with a strange hidden sadness. Then she smiled gently and allowed him to hold the tip of the ribbon. It felt impossibly thin, thinner than silk, almost like a crisp, translucent leaf. It is beautiful, Lynn whispered. It is my only protection, King murmured, looking at the dark forest outside. In the woods, the shadows are hungry, Lynn, but when I am in the room under the light of your candle, I am safe. Lynn looked at her fragile shoulders and felt a deep, fierce woe form in his chest. Then you can stay here forever. My candle will never go out. As the summer weeks passed, the air began to turn cool. Autumn was approaching. Lynn noticed that King was growing paler and every night. Her beautiful green dress looked frayed, and her voice, once clear and bright, was becoming thin and breathy, like a dying ember. She no longer sang. She just sat close to the candle, staring at the flame, her hands trembling. What's wrong, King? Lynn asked, reaching out to touch her hand. Her fingers felt like absolute ice. The season is changing, she whispered, her eyes filled with tears. My time is growing short, and he has found me. Who? Lynn demanded, his heart tightening. Before she could answer, the winds outside the temple suddenly stopped. The gentle patter of the rain kissed. A heavy, suffocating silence fell over the entire mountain. Then a sound began. Scratch, 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 scratch. Something massive was crawling up the outer wooden wall of the temple. It sounded like dozens of sharp, heavy needles scraping against the timber. King stood up, her face twisted in pure terror. He is here, she cried. The shadow with 8 legs, he has woven his net around the valley, and I am trapped. Lin grabbed his iron inkstone, ready to fight whatever beast was outside. But before he could reach the door, a sudden violent gust of wind blew the single window open. The cold air rushed in, and in a single second the candle flame gasped and went out. The room was plunged into absolute pitch black darkness. In the dark, Lin heard a short, sharp gasp. He heard the rustle of the silk being dragged violently backwards through the wooden window. Lin! King's voice screamed from the darkness of the forest. Remember my song. Lin fell over his desk, his hand scrambling in the dark. He struck a match, his hand shaking so violently it took 3 tries. The tiny flame burst alive, and he lit the candle. The room was empty. The door was locked, but the window hung open, banging against the outer wall. Lynn did not hesitate. He grabbed the candle, holding his hand over the flames to protect it from the wind, and leaped out of the window from the dark, freezing forest. He ran through the briars and thorns, his breath ragged, calling her name. King, King, where are you? He followed a faint, heartbreaking sound, a tiny, muffled sobbing echoing from the branches above. He pushed through a thicket of old pine trees and stopped. He raised his candle high, letting the warm amber light illuminate the branches. There was no girl in green dress. High above him, suspended between two massive pine branches, was a colossal sticky web made of thick grey silk. In the center of the web sat a massive black forest spider, its heavy legs twitching and trapped in the sticky threads. Directly beneath it was a tiny green cicada. Its fragile emerald green wings were torn. The green silk ribbon Lynn had touched earlier was actually the insect's abdomen, pulsing weakly. As the shadow of the spider crept closer, the tiny cicada did not try to escape. It looked down through the dark at Lynn, standing below with his single candle. It rubbed its torn wings together, and through the silent forest it sang. It sang the exact wordless, beautiful melody that King had sung to him every single night. It was a song of gratitude, a song of love, a song of thanking him for giving a lonely creature a warm sanctuary before its short life came to the end. Lynn stood frozen, tears streaming down his face, and as the final note of the song faded into the wind, the spider struck and the forest went completely silent. The next morning, the sun rose over the mountains, but the temple remained quiet. Lin returned to his room. He cleaned his desk, closed the window, and sat down in the silence. He knew that cicadas only live for a single summer. King had known her life was short, and she has chosen to spend her life remaining days keeping a lonely human company. Lin lived for many years, but he never married, and he never left the mountain temple. Every summer, when the forest grew warm, thousands of cicadas would sing in the trees outside his window. The neighbors thought it was just a noise of nature, but Lin would sit by his windows, close his eyes, and smile. because in the middle of that noise his heart could always hear that one distinct fragile green voice singing to him in the dark. And now the candle is burning low, the room is safe, the story is over, and you can finally let your eyes close. Sleep well.